All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am ready to swing for the fences. We are tackling stress management, and I am just bonkers excited about doing that. Along the way, we're going to cover 5 separate sessions. Each of those sessions, I believe, paramount for you not to skip. Please embrace the sessions in the order that they're presented. There's a rationale, a reason for it. Each session builds upon the other. So please, if you have not watched session 1, stop this recording and immediately go to watch the first session, which was titled First Steps. First Steps left you with 2 particular challenges. One was to identify what your motivations are. And in identifying your motivations, to be able to identify, are they externally driven or internally driven? Are they driven from within yourself, or are they driven by external factors? All right. The second challenge I offered you was in the acceptance and embracing the concept that we always give our best effort. Now, when we think about that at first, for some of us that seems, well, of course. And then when we think about it a little more, we start wondering, really, how is that possible? I just threw a 162. How is that remotely possible? That was my best effort. It was. Every single time you get up on the lane to throw, you give your best effort. You do. You never set out to fail. You always give your best effort. Embrace that. Accept that. You will find that by doing that, it frees you to be able to move forward much easier than if you continue to challenge yourself about what your best effort is. We can improve the quality of your best effort through practice and through the adoption of the habits and routines that we'll talk about through these sessions. But ultimately, it begins with understanding the importance of accepting and embracing the idea of best effort being each and every ball you throw at that particular precise time. All right? Okay, so session 2, I call Let's Party with Change. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we don't get anywhere through stress management and reducing stress, living with stress better, being more productive with it, by first recognizing ultimately it's about change. We're going to change some of our habits and some of our routines. But there are 3 foundations, I believe, that are important for us to recognize. First, life. Every day will be a bit different. We know this. Every day is a bit different than the last. Sometimes we have a grueling month, a grueling 2 weeks. That's life. Okay? Sometimes we're on a roll and we have a very successful first year. Maybe we have 5 years of nothing but blossoming success, maybe longer. Who knows? Ultimately, though, life throws roadblocks. Okay? We need to recognize that. But we also need to understand that just because there's a roadblock there, that doesn't mean we put on the brakes and stop. It doesn't mean we have to change direction. It just means we need to find a new path, a new balance, potentially. Anyway, so foundation number 1, life. Foundation number 2, diet. We need to diet. I'm recording this session at Christmas. I am the most unhealthy human being on this planet. Prior to this session, I lost 8 pounds because I'd started exercising and watching my diet because I knew it was time to make some changes. Well, Christmas arrived and I am the most unhealthy human being now. I've put 3 of those pounds back on, and it's just because I love shortbread. I love junk food. Anyway, diet, going to the lanes to practice when you haven't been eating well has a detrimental effect on how you feel and how you play. Diet is important. I want to present an extreme example. Tom Brady, Buccaneers quarterback, NFL, the GOAT of NFL quarterbacks, and probably will be for the foreseeable future. 7 Super Bowls, for example. One of the things he's noted for is his diet. He calls it the TB12, and it is a diet that I'm not espousing that we adopt. We don't need to adopt such diets, but imagine, I believe, without him following his diet, he would not have been as successful for as long as he was without it. Diet is huge. It is crucial to being successful. You cannot live off junk food. You cannot live in a world that says, eat whatever you want. You need some balance, and you need to use Canada's Health Guide to help you maybe. Daniel Leffler, a registered dietitian, university trained, very knowledgeable in the world of diet, has said, eat the foods that help you feel well. I think that's an incredibly wise piece of advice. Next, the third foundation, sleep. Erratic sleep gets in the way of being successful. The lack of sleep gets in the way of being successful. We need to be able to have a routine of sleep that leads us to being productive. I'll give you a case scenario. Some of you out there are parents, and you remember when your kids, maybe you've got kids right now that are toddlers or younger. Remember when they were first born? Maybe you had a colicky child. Maybe you were blessed with someone that wasn't colicky, but I guarantee you that baby had you going round the clock, changing diapers. There's a lot, they're very dependent, right? And sleep, you learned that sleep was a valuable commodity, and maybe you took sleep at times in the day that you never thought you'd ever take it. Sleep is important. Sleep is important. All right, so 3 foundations: life, sleep, diet. All right. Next, I want us to understand what change is about, the role of change in us being able to create valuable strategies and habits to handle stress. Change affects all of us. Every day we deal with stress. Some changes within the athletic environment will be easier for us and more difficult for someone else. Same change, but for some of us, X change is easier than for other people. Please understand that change is a very personal experience. Change may be very similar, but yet in some nuances quite different than somebody else's experience. So, change is a personal experience. Change involves a change in habit. It's unavoidable. You cannot create change without changing unproductive or unhealthy habits. It's just necessary. Next, change is the responsibility of the individual. If we're talking about a team environment, change is a responsibility of the teammates. In the course of the last few weeks, I've had a number of players nationwide participate in a survey specifically focused on stress management and on teamwork. It's remarkable the type of issues that came up and were revealed through the teamwork session in terms of some of the problems that arose in team, creating a good team atmosphere. Change is the responsibility of the individual, and within a team environment, it is the responsibility of each member within the team to be responsible for their personal change and their personal change within the concept of the team. It's also the responsibility of the coach. The next item is the role of habits. Now, I want to help you in differentiating between routine and habit. Routine can be the scheduling, the getting a regular routine for each day going. It's crucial, having a regular routine. If you're going to the lanes when there's to practice, for example, and there's nothing but glow bowling going on, bowling in the dark, poor choice. Pick a time when it's not happening, or at least go and ask them to shut off the glow bowling for your lanes and put it into a regular lighting, all right? If your routine, that would be unproductive to go and practice during glow bowling. So, habits are about the things you do to help you specifically improve. So, for example, diet. Pre-shot routine at the lanes, pre-shot routine. A habit. Arriving at the lanes with a sense of gladness, optimism, and purposefulness. That's a habit. Okay. So, we've explored the foundations and the roles of various aspects of creating change, handling, stress management. Okay? Habit, routine. Next, the role of our perception. Our perception is our own truth. It is what we see of the world and what we see of the competitive world. It is our truth. There may be others that share similar perspectives, but there will always be nuances of change within each other's perception. Sometimes those nuances are quite significant. We will, in the next session, explore the role of perception in more detail. For now, please understand, and challenge number one from this session is understanding that perception is our own truth. It is not a truth shared by everybody. It has its own nuances, its own change, all right, its own perspective. So, with that, within the team environment, there needs to be an acceptance that that is a reality. Not so much important within a singles environment, although the coach that you're working with needs to understand that. Okay, so the role of perception is crucial to creating successful strategies and habits to deal with stress, to reduce it, to make it manageable. And finally, the last piece of this puzzle is the role of motivation. You already in session one were given one challenge, and that was in identifying what your sources of motivation were in terms of being internally driven or externally driven. In the fourth session, we will explore our motivations in more detail. Suffice to say, remember, motivations, power, sense of belonging, fun and enjoyment, autonomy, sense of choice. And the last session, session 5, will address strategies and habits to being successful at dealing with stress management. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress enough, it is important for you to view each of these sessions in its logical progression from session 1 through 5. Skipping a session, it's an unproductive habit, ladies and gentlemen. It's an unproductive habit. Trust me. View each session in its progression. Take on the challenges that are provided within each session. Examine it in terms of its truthfulness for you and its adoption for you. Okay? Session 1's challenge. Remember it? Session 1's challenge. Something to do with success philosophy. I'm not filling it in. Tune in. And something to do with motivation. This particular session, session 2, do you remember what it was? I just said it a couple of minutes ago. I'll leave it for you to rewind if you need to. All right, I'll catch you in session number 3. Take care, and remember, hold your follow-through.